Welcome. My name is Penelope Chatterton. Welcome to Awaken the Dream. I have a guest that's coming back from last time, and her name is Lisa Natoli. And she definitely had a second show she had to share with us because I think I pushed her into it.
You did.
On a very unconscious level. We had talked a lot about your addiction and all of the awakening that you went through. And I think today you want to talk about the click and entering into the Christ consciousness. And maybe you can pick us up so that you can guide me to guide you, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, thank you. It's so good to be back here.
Oh, it's nice to have you. It's nice to have you.
Well, what happened was on the last show, you had talked about my first two books, Gorgeous for God and It Matters Totally, about food addiction. And then you said to me, you're writing a third book. And in the moment you said that, my mind went completely blank. I had no idea what I had been working on. And it didn't look like that I had a blank in that moment because you followed it immediately with, what's the title? And I didn't have a title.
I thought you had one.
I didn't have one, but in that moment something happened and the words, the click came out of my mouth. And then all of a sudden I began describing what that is. And it was like in that moment I was given a new idea. Like,
well, I expect credit.
And so you will get credit.
A little something down there, thanks to Penelope. Isn't that wonderful?
Yep.
That's wonderful. And the click is dear to my heart.
Yeah, it's dear to my heart too. And what it is, it's an amazing idea. And I know everybody has had it, but it's that moment, like an aha moment or a revelation, or that place where unknowing becomes knowing, or uncertainty becomes certainty, or where in just a moment. And it's like it comes from out of nowhere, where maybe you'd had a problem and suddenly you have the solution, or maybe you had had a prayer and now you have the answer. Yeah. And so I began looking at this idea of how is it possible to access that place? Like, is it something that's just random, or is the click something that each one of us can begin to practice? And what I feel is that it is something. Like, I'm no scientist, but I've had enough of these moments in my lifetime when I can look at them and say, okay, this is what happened and this is what I had done. And what it feels like to me is I like talking a lot about energy fields. And what I feel that happens when a click happens, it's that moment when all the energy fields, like when you are seeking outside of yourself. So you have a problem, boom, your energy goes to the problem. And you're
immersed in it.
You are immersed in it, and your energy goes from you out.
You're the problem.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it becomes like a sea of energy that's chaotic.
Yeah.
So maybe there's a person who's grabbing your attention, boom, your energy goes there. You have a money problem, boom, your energy goes there. Yeah. So your energy is all outside of you. Well, what happens in the click is when you bring the energy fields back in. So a lot of spiritual practices say, be still. Yeah. Then they talk about meditation or yoga or any of these practices that are going to allow you to stop. That you just stop for a moment. You stop seeking. You stop looking for something to come. Yeah. And the energies, what happens, and again, I'm no scientist, but this is what it feels like. It's like you're breathing now. It's like you're breathing them all in. Like you just stop without the past, without a future, and you allow yourself to come home. And so to me, it's about shifting into a whole new level of consciousness. So I call it Christ consciousness, but it's that consciousness of trust, of joy, of knowing. Release, exactly.
You know, letting go and shifting are common terms, but I like the fact you're using click.
Yep.
Or as in NCIS, head slap, good old Gibbs. Yep. It's like, got it.
Exactly.
And it's a wonderful word. It's a wonderful word. But you're right about the energy fields. It's like stop already.
It is.
Just stop this.
Yep. And the click is a perfect word because that's exactly, it's click.
And it's gone.
And all of a sudden it's like, I have a couple of interesting stories. I have a couple of times where things have been manifested physically in a click. And here we are in Cape Cod right now. Yeah. And there was a house here that I wanted to live in. but I was a waitress. I didn't have the money. And I kept going to that house every day. And there was something about that house, and I knew I did not have the money as a waitress to rent that house.
Yeah.
But something kept me going back there every day, and I got out and I'd walk around the yard. I'd look in the windows, and you know, the rents around here in the summertime are like between $1,000 and $2,000 a week or a month.
Absolutely.
But I kept going back, and there was a sign out front for rent, and I didn't dare call because I thought there's no way I can afford it. And one day I was sitting in the driveway, and I looked at the mailbox, and I thought, that's my mailbox. That's the click. Like, I went, that's my mailbox.
Oh.
And I looked, I said, that's my house. I got a thought, call that number right now.
Yeah.
And I called the number, and the woman said, it's yours. It's $400 a month.
Oh my gosh, unheard of.
And it's like these kinds of moments when it's like, you know,
Yeah.
there's no struggle, there's no doing, there's no efforting.
It's like life is happening to you.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's like the mailbox just said, I'm yours.
Yeah. And I've had those kinds of moments. It's like you stop. Like you suddenly realize everything is already done.
Yeah.
And what is mine is now flowing to me.
You got out of the way.
And then you just get out of the way. Exactly. And so, like, but the thing is like the biggest clicks that have happened to me, and I know everybody has them, are these moments of revelation. When in a flash, you see something differently.
Yeah.
And I had a click when suddenly alcoholism fell away. It was just in this moment. And I can't explain how it happens, except that I know that I wanted it.
It was time.
And it was time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you feel it was out of your hands when that happened? Because I remember on our last program, you'd been in and out of it and in and out of it. And sometimes it was a long time, and then it just wasn't time yet. And then all of a sudden, it's like you'd practiced
enough,
and it was.
I like that you said that, because Carlos Castaneda, who's a writer who I love very much, but he talks about an assemblage point. So he talks about that each one of us is a bundle of energy, and that we all have a point that's sort of a center where all of our habits are located around. And as you shift your habits, you literally shift your energy field. But because our habits are so like solid, you slide back. So what he says you have to keep doing is keep shifting. And so you shift, like, I want to quit drinking.
Yeah.
And then it slides back to the old habit of going to the liquor store. The old identity is picked up again, and then I shift it again. No, I'm done. And now for a moment, I'm in this new energy field. I'm eating better. I'm not drinking.
Loving it, thinking,
I'm loving it.
I'm done.
I'm done. And then it just slides.
Yeah.
But what he says happens is if you keep doing this, in the new location is creating a groove. It's creating a new groove. And there comes a point when the groove is deep enough, it won't slide anymore.
That's beautifully said.
And that's what it feels like it is, because I've had so many experiences in my life when I think, how come this is not sticking?
Yeah.
How come that I want to stay in a condition of joy? I can't. How come I keep sliding back into doubt?
Yeah.
But the more I just say, no, today's a new beginning.
Yeah.
And I shift it again, until finally there just came a moment where it was like,
it's like a pattern or a rhythm.
It is. Yep.
It had Lisa's name on it. It's a pattern. Yeah, I can almost see it. And you finally filled in the groove deep enough so that you didn't have to play that anymore.
And you just keep moving higher. So you go into the new place, and then you go higher from
And
there.
as you went higher, did you find it was less like, well, it was easier. It was just like, and not as you weren't so frantic about it. You just sort of, it just got easier, more comfortable. It wasn't all or nothing, and I'm doing it this time. All of that started to sort of fizzle away. It just became like, then all of a sudden you could look behind you and say, my gosh, I'm here.
Exactly.
It happened. That's encouraging.
Yep. Yeah, it is.
And you wrote a book, too, that talked about 40 days.
Yep. So I wrote a book about food addiction. It matters totally.
Yeah.
And it's really about honoring yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the biggest clicks I had was about that very topic. So I had been about 6 months after my divorce was finalized. I had already been living alone for about 1.5 years. And I moved from Wisconsin to New Hampshire, and I was sort of sitting on the fence whether or not I wanted to be in a relationship again. You know, part of me is a relationship girl. I love being in a partnership. I love that. But there was this other part of me that just felt like it's too hard. It's too much conflict. I'm too busy. I like freedom too much.
Yeah.
But something happened to me when I could see everything that I was looking for in what I thought was another person or a relationship was available to me now.
Yeah.
So to be loved, to feel lovable and adored and cherished and protected and safe, and to do fun things, and all of these ideas that we think somebody else is going to give to us. It was like a click. I could see, oh my goodness, I can start living that now.
Yeah. Yes.
Like to fall in love with myself, to really fall in love with my life. And I began to do that. And I got to this point when I thought, oh my God, I don't need a relationship.
I'm having a good time.
I'm having a good time. I don't want it. And what happened was, at that point when I no longer needed it nor wanted it, a friend of mine, his name was Bill, that he suddenly was in my awareness. And he had been, for maybe a couple of months, had already been saying, I'm in love with you. And I was like, no, I don't need it.
Yeah.
I don't need it. I have everything. I don't need that. But then in a moment I could see, now that you don't need it, it is yours.
Yeah.
And it's been easy since day one.
Yeah. Yeah.
And these are the kinds of things. It's like honoring yourself, starting to push yourself out of your comfort zone, starting to live, like stop waiting, like really just be in this place now, which is today.
Yeah, take care of yourself.
And to take care of yourself.
Listen, I practice lifting this book, so we're gonna let everybody see this beautiful cover too. And this is It Matters Totally. Ruth, I don't know if you can catch that for us. This is a 40-day program on, there it is. There it is, nice. That's beautiful. And the artist is the person that you...
Yep, my co-author is Mary Ellis School.
All right. And for anyone out there, I mean, really, who are dealing with... Food addiction. There you are. Yeah. And where can they find you? Because
so that one is at matterstotally.com.
Oh, itmatterstotally.com.
Or on gorgeousforgod.com.
Gorgeous for
There's
God.
links on all of those.
Gorgeous for God. Where did you get that? That's so wonderful.
Well, I just needed a reminder. Like, I needed a reminder to live in joy. Like, I needed some kind of a reminder every day of my purpose. And that just came to me as like, so now, and that is the place now. Again, like, it was one of those things of I couldn't maintain that place. I kept sliding back into depression, sadness. And then it suddenly just, I could see, oh, I can live in this place. I can live in a place of gratitude. That's an easy thing to do when you want it, when that becomes your intention.
All right. Now, tell us about Gorgeous for God. Ruth, can you catch this for us? This was your first, this is your very first, there you go. That's a beautiful cover. All right, now how did this come about for you?
So that became a compilation of blog posts that I've written.
Oh.
And I haven't lifted this book in a long time. And I just took these little basic things. So this one's called The Little Garden. You know what I really love? That where the intensity is where the most healing occurs. It's not about being in a relationship or having an experience that is all flowers and sunshines and butterflies and rainbows. It's about feeling the intensity, the passion, the rage, the frustration, and watching it transform to love. This is where the journey becomes an adventure. You stand still and the barren desert becomes a garden.
That's beautiful.
Yep.
That's beautiful. So your healing, your own healing, is why you're motivated.
Yep.
I mean, it's always nice when my guests come and say, yeah, I've had my struggles, because people hear us when we know that we needed to wake up. And but let's talk more about your click, because now that you're on this program, and I want you to help our friends watching about how they can create this. How do they get out of the way? How do they surrender, shift, let go?
Well, I think the first step is that somebody has to know what they want.
Oh, very good.
Yeah, because I think what happens is that people have conflicting wants, that they want to be happy, but they also want to continue to defend themselves. They still want the conflict, even though it's maybe deep down buried.
Little victim stuff going on here, maybe they like.
Exactly.
They're comfortable.
Exactly.
It's safe. It's familiar.
Yeah. And so I think the first step is you have to want it. Like you have to really say, yes, I want to be happy. Yes, I want to live.
All right.
Yes, I want that. That's what
I think it's good you're sharing this, because it might help our friends watching to say, well, you know what, I haven't been that committed. Maybe I'm not ready because I don't feel that way.
Exactly.
So
well, in that book, It Matters Totally, that's the first thing we ask people is to make a commitment.
Okay.
And you don't even have to know what that commitment means, but you have to say yes to it. You have to say yes. I'm going to say yes to life. I'm going to say yes to God. I'm going to say yes to a whole new life.
Yeah.
Like, I loved what you said to me that time last time. You said that you had this vision of yourself as living every single day, and your last breath was going to be that you were just going to die, boom, boom.
Right, in an
arabesque. You're just going to, like, fall. And that's what it is. Like, you make that kind of a commitment.
Yeah.
You say, this is my life.
Yeah.
That I don't need to struggle. Like maybe there will be struggles along the way, but that I really want to experience the fullness and the richness of the relationships with people. I don't want to spend my day having grievances. And
you got to watch those war stories too about what it's like getting older and stuff and what to expect. I'm not going there.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
beautiful.
Why,
Thank you.
Well, it's good to keep going and use it. And if it hurts a little bit, so what?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
And being busy is a wonderful thing.
Yep.
Being involved in life is a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
And sharing, and we're all teachers, and we're all, you know, giving light to one another. And
Because, see, I think a lot of people make the spiritual journey far too complicated, far too serious. Like they're waiting for something to happen. So they're waiting at home, reading more books.
Yeah.
When, for me, the way it's happened for me is that I could see I just needed to shift out of my habits. I needed to step out of my comfort zone.
But you had your rhythms to go through, and I was thinking about a spiritual evolution, because I think years ago we all stormed the kingdom and we gobbled up book after book, and you got to read this one, and we all get our little shot, and we'd be high for a while, and then maybe we get lost again. So we go through these, what you're saying, and I think the encouraging word you got today is the click will come.
Yep. Oh, definitely.
So people don't beat themselves up if they slide back because their groove isn't deep enough. That it will come.
Well, I don't want to give the wrong message either, because it's not a doing.
Okay.
It's a bit of a paradox because what it is it's an allowing. It's a relaxing. It's a like standing still. It's about finding your breath, and it's about finding God. It's about really coming into that place now where you're trusting something that's higher or that's bigger than yourself. And you're attaching yourself to it, and that's for me. That's when the click happens.
Yeah, try
it's
it. You'll
when
like
these
it.
energy fields all come together and they're shifting, and it's like they're straight.
Yeah, I always think God speaks at a moment like that. Something. There's because you're out of the way. And something happens.
Exactly.
Yeah, I like life happening to you.
Exactly. And those are the moments I live for.
Yeah.
Like it's a surprise. Everything's a surprise now. So if I don't have a story that I'm dragging in from the past with, and that I just allow myself to be present wherever I am, so here with you, is that something new can always be revealed.
Yeah.
And it's always a surprise to me. There's a wonder now in every little thing.
Yeah.
And you can find it in anything, in nature, in sitting in
those
your living room.
surprises just, I don't know, they make me sit down and breathe. It's like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
It's magic.
It is magic.
Yeah. Life is worth living.
It is worth living.
And it's joy. And I think the knowledge that with all the hard work so many folks are doing in the world on knowing who they are and having suffered through their stuff, so they're finally getting it, I do believe that's just feeding all of us, that the gifts that we give one another are I mean, we're there now. I think
we are.
Storming the kingdom and all of that, I think we can just now accept it.
Totally.
So anyone who wants to jump in, if the water's been tested and Distilled?
Yeah. Well, I had heard about these guys in the military called scouts, and scouts were these guys that were ready to die. And they were sent out, there was just a few of them, and they were sent out into uncharted territory to make sure it was going to be safe for the rest of the troops to come.
Oh, that's
And
a
what
tough
they would
assignment.
do is they would go out, like 3 or 4 or 5 of them, and they would send a signal back. So they would never go back physically to the place they'd come from. They'd send a signal, it's safe, come. And that's what I feel like, that those who have taken this path, who have really been the fearless ones, who have been experimenting with these ideas, we're now sending a signal, come. It is safe to love.
Yeah.
It is safe.
Yeah.
Like, you can just drop your story.
Yeah.
You can just fall madly in love.
Yeah.
This morning, before I came here, I saw the best cartoon. It was this therapist office, and the dog was the therapist. So the dog was the therapist, and there was a guy lying down on the couch, and the dog says to the patient, "My therapy is really simple. I wag my tail and lick your face until you feel better about yourself." And to me, that's what it is. It's like, we can be like the dogs.
Yeah.
We can just be like that. Like, that's a decision that one can make.
Yeah.
And that everybody thinks, oh, no, I need to look at my stuff. I need to talk. I need to do more talking.
Yeah, we've
I
got
need
to stop looking at our stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Stop thinking.
Stuff go away.
Yeah.
I know our conditioned minds that are so loaded, and they'll sneak in again and again.
Yeah, it will.
You chase them away, and keep a sense of humor.
Exactly.
Above all, laugh. It's
Yep.
good to laugh. 5
It
minutes
is.
to go. So where are we taking our friends today? First of all, to your website on how to reach you. Now, can you tell our audience what you're doing? Do you have workshops? Can they call on you to do things?
Yep. So it's gorgeousforgod.com.
Okay.
And I think what events I have coming up.
You have an online program, though, don't you?
I have an online program. Yep. So
they
it's
can work with you online.
So that's a 40-day online program.
Okay.
And then I have a workshop in the summertime. So that's going to be in Maine. And then I'm going to Europe with Bill and I. We're going to Denmark in October. So we're going to do a little European tour.
Oh, how nice.
Yeah.
You taking any money?
Well, not really, but but for me, what it is, it's like, I really just want to support and encourage people as they go on this path, like, to really just be the demonstration that this is possible, that suffering is optional, that you don't have to be in pain. You might experience it still, but as you really begin to keep shifting yourself into that Christ consciousness, into that consciousness of love, that something energetic begins to happen. So that's why it's not a doing. The energy will begin to transform you. So I'm not doing anything.
You might even shed a few tears of your suffering to joy. I keep thinking about the feeling nature that we have. We're immersed in all our pain, and all of a sudden we realize we don't want to be there.
Exactly.
And tears can come and a chuckle can come.
Yep. Well, that's exactly what happened to me. Like, a very large shift of mine was after my divorce. That I would sit in my bathtub and cry for 4 months. And one day, I was observing myself crying. It was like there was 2 parts of me, and something just immediately was like, who's watching?
It's like you're good company.
It was like, I know.
My first thought is
somebody that was joyful and at peace watching me in the bathtub crying, and they were both me. And I never was sad again after that moment, because I began to see that's the duality. That's the split. And that I can choose which one I want to side with. And I just made a choice. I would prefer to choose to side with the joyful being that's just here. And that's the invitation for anybody who listens. And it's not always gracious. This path, it's messy. But just to let it be messy. Like, I prefer to make a ton of mistakes. Because in the mistake there's growth. I don't want to be some perfect, teacher who's always taking the right step. I'd prefer to look like a train wreck. Like, let it be an adventure.
Don't worry about perfect words.
Exactly.
All of that stuff.
Exactly.
Be silly, be
alive.
Inappropriate.
Be inappropriate,
Have a bad hair day. What the 2 minutes.
Yeah.
2 minutes. Oh, we showed both books. You teach online.
Yep.
You're going to travel. Any thoughts for your future on what's your intention?
Well, for me, what I want to do is really just allow myself to every day stand still. Like what I tell people, what I give as suggestions is I take for myself. So for me now, wherever we're finding ourselves is just allowing it to be a clean, empty space without a plan.
Yeah.
Like to just be standing, and then he can show us what's next.
I love the fact that I have so many teachers of God on Awaken the Dream, because we're teaching what we're trying to remember.
Exactly.
And I do believe we've been hooked on that.
Yes.
We've been had.
Yeah.
So we have to do it.
We've been had.
We've been had. Yeah, we have no choice. Sooner or later, we're all going to be expounding on how gorgeous we are for God.
Exactly. Yep.
So you're doing it, and I encourage anyone watching to find a way to do it too. Just show up with your light, and people will feel it.
And really just ask for help. Like that's the thing. It's like I like this idea. People think, oh, I don't believe in God, but you have to get into that consciousness.
Yeah.
You have to get into a consciousness of somebody who's already walking the path, or that's why it's good just to, even if you don't believe in God, just to turn to Him for a second.
Yeah.
And say, I need help.
Yeah.
And that's going to be enough. That'll be enough.
That will be enough.
And you will begin to like see, okay, now just listen for the hunches. Like listen and keep your eyes open for the changes that will come.
Yeah.
Like it's that simple.
Well, I'm going to let you stop on that note because it's perfect. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lisa. And thank you, my friends, for joining us on Awaken the Dream. We will talk to you again soon.